Today we're doing a video review of the BX100 SSD by Crucial. This is actually a pretty impressive drive for the money. It's kind of a stripped down version of the Crucial MX100 and MX200, but when we get into the benchmark numbers and graphs here in a minute, you'll see that it's possible that stripping away all those extra features that you see in all these other solid state drives, when you get into the real world benchmark numbers, maybe some of those extra features aren't actually serving the drive. At least that's the case with the MX200 that has rain and power loss protection, all that stuff. The BX100 kind of beat out the MX200 in all of the real world tests. But we'll get into the benchmarks here in a bit. The BX100 is going to win my recommendation for best space for the money, best drive to upgrade an older laptop. Say you have an old laptop that's got a 40 gigabyte or a 200 gigabyte hard drive in it. This is only going to cost you about $70 for 120 gigabytes. It's going to be the best $70 you can spend on an older laptop. It'll give it that little bit of extra zip. It'll make startup times insanely fast compared to what they used to be. It'll almost give it that new computer feel without going out and buying a new laptop. So Crucial BX100, my recommendation for best drive to upgrade an older computer or laptop and most space for the money. If you're looking for the best solid state drive for the money, hands down, the 850 Evo takes it. Check the links in the video description below. I'll have links to where you can get these at the best possible price, and I'll have linked to the full video review roundup I did that kind of shows where all these drives stand in terms of benchmarks. But the 850 Evo is the best performance, space, and features for the money. BX100 is the best for upgrading an older computer and the extreme budget minded. So let's get into the benchmarks. When looking at benchmarks, most of the time you're going to be seeing what we call synthetic benchmark numbers. These are the numbers that most sites are posting. They're numbers produced by programs like Crystal Disk and StorageMark. And these are purely clean laboratory tests. Nothing else is going on in the system. This is the maximum ability of the drive in a clean laboratory environment. Now, in a minute here, we're going to get into the real-world benchmark numbers, and that's where the Crucial BX100 really shines. In these tests, it kind of like trails the pack. It does seem to edge ahead in 2 megabyte sequential read, and the latency is actually really impressive. But let's look at this graph in a different way. If I take all those numbers and average them all out and then make each test a positive or negative number in relationship to the median value, and then add those all together, it kind of gives us an average total quantified synthetic benchmark test. And here you can see the Crucial BX100 just trails the pack. When you consider all of the tests together, in a synthetic world, it doesn't appear to be that great of a drive at all. And in this test, the 850 Pro actually seemed to be the winner. So this graph here is just basically this graph, but I quantified all the numbers to give me this graph here. Alright, so it's just a visual way of looking at what we were looking at before. Now let's get into the real world numbers. The real world benchmarks actually come from StorageReview.com. They're one of the only people out there that actually have a test configuration where they can test all their drives under multiple user environments. They've got their media server environment where you're like playing and streaming music and movies locally and on the network. You've got your productivity, that's where you're running like office applications and browsing the web. And then you got your pure gaming setup where you're just gaming. These are 3 of the most common like real-world environments where you're actually demanding the use and attention of the hard drive in different ways in kind of a more real environment. And in these tests, the numbers kind of flip-flop. Here, the Crucial BX100 kind of like jumps ahead. I guess all that extra features they're adding onto the BX100 kind of slow down the MX200 and the MX100. Even though it doesn't lead the pack in terms of the gaming input-output, it really does hold its own there, and it shines on pretty much every other level. So let's look at the average total quantified of these numbers. Here we see that the Samsung 850 Evo just jumps out ahead of the pack, and that's why it is the GadgetClass top pick for best value and performance for the money. It's actually a pretty inexpensive drive, and for what it does compared to the more expensive drives on the market, like the 850 Pro, the Samsung 850 is the clear value and performance leader. But when you're just upgrading an older laptop where you want the most space for the money, the Crucial BX100 is actually way ahead of the MX200 and the MX100. It's still nowhere near the Samsung drives, but for its price point, it is actually a pretty good drive. I mean, even though it's at negative 29 here, it's actually performing really well. It's actually a pretty good performer. So if you don't have the extra 30-40 bucks to spend on the 850 Evo, go ahead and get the Crucial BX100. It's actually a pretty impressive drive. Now let's take all of these tests, combine them all together, and look at the total real world and synthetic total quantified numbers. And here, even though this isn't the best way to look at data, it kind of gives you a pretty good approximation of where each of the drives stand in terms of raw, synthetic, and real-world performance. And here you see, again, the Samsung 850 Evo is the winner, with the 850 Pro being second place, and the Crucial MX200 actually takes last place here. And the Crucial BX100 is in third place. But for total price and space for the money, the BX100 is still a desirable drive. Crucial MX200, even though it's not a top performer, with its rain and its power loss protection, it is my top category pick for servers and network attached storage, anywhere where data reliability is the #1 concern. So, in review, the Crucial BX100 is a great drive. It's a great drive if you just want to get a 120 gigabyte drive and upgrade an older laptop. You can do that for under $70. Pretty much a great way to go for older computers. Other than that, I would recommend the Samsung 850 Evo. So be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the thumbs up button so YouTube knows to put my video above all the others.